and things are being thrown. There's no room for this in the sport.
I feel like he a solid fighter. He getting better, but like I said, he ranked maybe I'm #1 for sure, and he could be right under.
Terence Crawford showed up unannounced at a press conference, shoved Jaron Ennis in front of everyone, and it turned out he's been secretly training Xander Zayas for weeks. The greatest fighter of his generation just inserted himself into the biggest fight of 2026, and nobody saw it coming.
What like Crawford says for the most part, but do you kind of feel like some of his critiques to you were like, I don't know, maybe like hate a little bit? I know online he recently said that Fendora's the best guy 154. He said Fendora would beat you. What do you like to thoughts on that?
I don't pay no mind though. None of that stuff be bothering me, but like I said, I'm the best.
At the Jaron Ennis versus Xander Zayas press conference at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn on April 8th, something nobody expected happened. Terence Crawford walked in unannounced, and before anyone could process what was going on, he shoved Jaron Ennis in one of the most shocking moments of 2026. Security scrambled. Eddie Hearn and top-ranked President Todd Duboff were caught completely off guard. What was supposed to be a standard press conference turned into absolute chaos.
Never heard of him. See, me and Boots in the same way. No. For
real. Crawford didn't just show up as a spectator. Sources inside the Barclays Center say he has been secretly training Xander Zayas behind the scenes for weeks, flying to Florida where Zayas trains with his coach Jav Centino, running private sparring sessions, and sharing the exact blueprint he would have used to beat Jaron Ennis himself. His appearance at that press conference was a message. Crawford came to show Ennis who is really in Zayas' corner.
And that's a tough fight, especially for Xander at this point in his career, but it shows his heart and his confidence, that he have in himself, and he's ready to go make history for his country, and he's going to do real well in that fight. I just think, June
27th fight between unified WBA and WBO junior middleweight champion Xander Zayas and Jaron Boots. Ennis is already being called one of the most dangerous fights either man has ever taken. Zayas, just 23 years old, became the youngest unified champion in boxing when he beat Abbas Barakat by split decision in Puerto Rico earlier this year. On the other side, Ennis has stopped 31 of his 35 opponents and carries a reputation as the boogeyman nobody wants to fight. Eddie Hearn himself admitted at the press conference that if he represented Zayas, there is absolutely no way he would have let him take this fight.
Feels like Mayweather-Canelo all over again. This generational great who's going too early. But you have to give him his props. But this guy is different, and he will show how many more levels he's got. But he needs great fighters like Zayas to bring that out of him.
According to insiders, Crawford reached out to Zayas' team shortly after the fight was announced and offered to help prepare the young champion. The sessions have been focused specifically on how to beat Ennis, breaking down every defensive weakness and offensive pattern Boots has shown throughout his career. Multiple people with knowledge of these private sessions say Crawford has been teaching Zayas the exact game plan he would have executed if he and Ennis had ever shared a ring.
I'm growing, I'm getting better, I'm getting bigger. We keep controlling it. I have a great nutritionist team that work with me. They're ones that work with Terence Crawford, Shakur Stevenson, so they know what they're doing. And I believe in them throughout, my whole career.
Just feel that Jaron Ennis against Terence Crawford is the fight. And that can be at 54, it can be at 60. Obviously we've got Lima to take care of first, but that for me is one of the great, crossover fights, because Boots is the changing of the guard guy. And Crawford's the guy that's been there and done it all and just proved, that he's still...
Backstory here matters. Crawford and Ennis had been linked to a potential super fight for years when both were dominating the welterweight division. But it never happened. Crawford retired on December 16, 2025 with a perfect 42-0 record after shocking the world by defeating Canelo Alvarez. After retirement, he publicly said he would not drop back down to 154 pounds to fight Ennis, essentially closing the door on that fight forever. But many insiders believe Crawford always saw Ennis as unfinished business. And now, sources say, he sees training Zayas to beat Ennis as a way to prove his point without coming out of retirement himself.
Would you consider going back down to 154 and face Jaron Ennis, the guy who prepared Canelo Alvarez for this fight?
No. I ain't going down 154.
Sure, but you and Boots would be pretty good too.
Listen, I'm happily retired. Those was fights that, you know, could have happened when I was active. And I wish all those fighters good luck and much success.
You dreaming, man. You talking in your dreams, man.
Fight. Yeah, we asked for that fight plenty of times, yo.
When?
Plenty of times.
What's plenty? When?
There's another layer to this. Ryan Garcia recently claimed that Ennis would beat Crawford if they ever fought, saying Boots is more talented, younger, and faster than anyone Crawford faced in his entire career. Those comments reportedly irritated Crawford deeply. Then Eddie Hearn added fuel to the fire back in January 2026 by predicting that Jaron Ennis would replace Terence Crawford as the pound-for-pound #1 fighter within 12 months, calling Boots the new Crawford.
It talks about Ennis against Crawford, right? What we can't do is diminish or disrespect what Terence has done. I mean, a true generational great of the sport. But if anyone's going to beat him, I believe we've got the guy to beat him. Now, we need to build Ennis into a fight. Action to that. Yeah. He's getting his face. He said he's going to rip your heart out.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Oh, that's
what he said, didn't he?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
You believe that?
No, but he said it. You know what I mean?
I mean, you gotta say that.
Sources say that quote didn't sit well with Crawford either. He reportedly believes Ennis has been protected throughout his career and has never truly faced elite opposition the way Crawford did his entire career. So now everything has changed. This is no longer just a fight between two undefeated champions.
Prize now, Xander Zayas is listed at 5'10" with a 74-inch arm reach. Boots is listed at 5'10" with a 74-inch arm reach. But clearly, as you see here, Xander Zayas is much bigger than Jaron Ennis. And shouts out to Marco.
Well, everybody know, because everybody was quote-unquote calling me the email champ. So, with that being said, I never was able to, you know, fight a world champion or take a world title from somebody. I was given the belt out of my hands. That was out of my hands, you know.
This is Terence Crawford, the greatest fighter of his generation, using Xander Zayas as the weapon to settle a debate he couldn't settle inside the ring himself. If Zayas wins on June 27th using Crawford's blueprint, it sends a message louder than any retirement speech. And if Ennis wins, the argument that he is on a different level than anyone Crawford ever faced gets a whole lot stronger.
You know, with head movement, the Boots gonna be doing all that head moving and sliding, tucking and moving on angles and Boots, that's what Boots gonna attack his ass late. And Boots got power. He got major power, man.
It happened in boxing, man. You know what I mean? You only take one shot, you know what I mean? So you gotta be careful, man. You gotta be on at all times, man. Cylinders got to be working, man.
What kind of boost can we expect?
Crawford is in Zayas' corner, and he's got shoved at the press conference. And June 27th just became the most important fight of 2026. Who wins Zayas with Crawford's blueprint or Boots proving he's on a different level entirely? Comment your pick below, like the